Hi guys, Oli McBurnie here, back again for another video on the channel, and today then we've got a bit of Swans transfer news. And then luckily for today's video, all three players are actually linked with moves to Swansea, so not going to be any outgoing talks in this one, and all three players have been quite seriously linked by decent journalists as well, so I can see at least one of these happening. Of course, we all know the rumours about a certain player, a certain former Swans player in this video, but we'll leave him till the end. But yeah, let's go on to the latest transfer rumours and see what the journalists have been saying. So Swansea City then are linked with Chelsea youngster Marc Guiu. I think that's how you pronounce him. Obviously we've had Marc Guiu in the past, but this one is G-U-I-U, sorry, so apologies for the pronunciation. But yeah, he's a 19-year-old striker. He played 16 games last season for Chelsea, only 3 games in the Premier League, which were all substitute appearances, not much game time at all last season in the Premier League. He scored 6 goals in 9 games in the Conference League. Also, the Conference League standard is not great quality, but at the end of the day, you've still got to put the ball in the back of the net. So in terms of doing that, he did a good job last season in the Conference League. Before his time at Chelsea, he was actually at Barcelona, and obviously he joined Chelsea then. He made 7 senior appearances for Barcelona and scored 2 goals for Barcelona, with one of those being in the Champions League. So he has scored on the big occasion as well. Now, Swans have had a very good relationship with Chelsea in the previous couple of years with our loan players. You look at the loan players we've had in the Championship for them, we had Marc Guiu and Conor Gallagher. You look how successful both of those players were at Swansea and how Chelsea made a huge profit on both of those players. And also you take a look at the Premier League days where we had Tammy Abraham as well. Again, Chelsea made a lot of money on Tammy Abraham. So yeah, all 3 players, I would say, had a very successful time at Swansea City, and we did help Chelsea make a lot of money on those players who grew and developed at Swansea. So, you know, if this was to happen, obviously he will probably go out on loan this summer. Obviously, with Chelsea having, you know, Liam Delap, Nicholas Jackson at the moment, obviously we don't know what's going to happen with him and Joe Pedro. They've got a lot of options up front, and obviously with him being 19, obviously a lack of game time last season, Chelsea will definitely want him to go out on loan because, let's be honest, he'll probably be gone in 2 years and they'll make a lot of money on him. But yeah, look, there's a lot of Spanish clubs interested, of course, of him being Spanish. Obviously playing for Barcelona in the past, there'll be clubs in La Liga, probably the bottom half teams wanting him, and maybe some La Liga 2 teams. There are some reported interest as well. Ipswich are apparently interested in taking the Chelsea youngster to Portman Road, and of course Swansea are also linked. Now, we're probably going to be the least favourite for this signing. Obviously, it will probably be an expensive loan deal, but I'm sure we can negotiate something, as we'd all knew that Guiu, Gallagher and Abraham would have cost a lot of money. Of course, Abraham's a little bit of a different situation with him being in the Premier League at the time. But yeah, look, if it is available, I think we've got a good chance if the finances are right, just for the fact that we've had very good success in the past, and, you know, we do tend to give these loan players a chance, especially these Chelsea ones. Obviously, Guiu was here for 18 months, Gallagher was here for 6 months, and obviously Abraham was there for the whole season. So we've had a little bit of variation between the whole loans, but look, like I said, 19 years old, he knows where the back of the net is, some great experience with some big teams as well. Obviously, you do have that slight risk where, you know, if you are taking a player from these big clubs and he comes down to the Championship, what's his motivation going to be like? And, you know, we did see that in the Premier League with Renato Sanchez. You know, his motivation was just not there. He just didn't want to be here. So, obviously, got to be careful, but I'm sure the recruitment team and Alan Sheehan, the manager, will be looking at all options up front. But yeah, Marc Guiu to Chelsea is potentially on. Now, a second transfer rumour. I've never heard of this player. Malik Yalcouye. I think that's how you pronounce it. He's a 19-year-old midfielder who plays for Brighton and Hove Albion, who has actually made a senior appearance for Brighton. So Brighton signed him last summer, and then he got loaned straight away to Sturm Graz in Austria. But yeah, he made 36 appearances in Austria last season, which, you know, played a lot of games for a youngster, so that's exactly what the loan Brighton needed for him, including 8 games in the Champions League. So he played the whole group stage for Sturm Graz in the Champions League, and I do believe he actually got man of the match in one of those games as well. He registered 4 goals and 1 assist for Sturm Graz last season. He's 5'7", so, you know, not incredibly tall in the midfield, but he's very, you know, technically gifted as well. He was born in Mali, but he currently represents Ivory Coast under 23, so he's got dual nationality. So in the future, you know, if he's not very good and he doesn't want to represent Ivory Coast, he has got the option of representing Mali as well. There's a host of European teams after him. Of course, Swansea, again, similar to the previous player I just mentioned, Marc Guiu. Marc Guiu. Teams like Copenhagen over in Denmark, Toulouse from France, Freiburg and Hoffenheim, both of Germany, are interested in the youngster. Now, apparently Toulouse are the front runners for this transfer, according to Fabrizio Romano. Like I said, I don't know why Swansea's name would be mentioned if there was no reported interest, as we're the smallest club out of all those teams. So there must be some sort of interest. Obviously, Brighton, Swansea playing the same footballing pyramid. So, we have got that little chance there. And of course, if you want to be playing in England, I know we're Welsh, but you get what I mean in terms of the football division, then we may have a good chance of this one. But again, you look at the midfield options, we've got the moment, Galbraith, Weidel, Franco, Fulton, Ollie Cooper there. You've got Congreve and Cottrell coming in through the under-23s as well. You've got a lot of midfielders there, so I'm not sure how reliable this one is, and if we need another midfielder at the moment, especially a midfielder who's 5'7". I feel like we need someone a bit more physical who can play that defensive midfielder role in case of an injury. So yeah, I'm not too sure about this one. Like I said, 19 years of age, only one proper senior season in football, but obviously Brighton don't tend to sign these bad youngsters, do they? Brighton's business over the last couple of years has been absolutely phenomenal. You look at Belieber, Caicedo, McAllister, some of the players they've bought over the last couple of years who no one knew about, and this could be another one. But yeah, Yalcouye, he definitely will be leaving on loan this summer. Obviously, Brighton, I did mention, paid €7 million for him. So yeah, they did pay a decent fee for him, and obviously will have a long-term future at Brighton, you'd expect of his age. But yeah, Malik Yalcouye is linked to Swansea. Now then, the one which needs no interaction or introduction is Oli McBurnie. The 29-year-old is still a free agent after leaving Spanish side Las Palmas last season after they got relegated. Now, he did have a decent contract with Las Palmas, but there was a clause in his contract that if the Spanish team got relegated, his contract could just get ripped up essentially, so he'd be able to leave on a free transfer. Now, Oli McBurnie was quite close to joining Hull earlier on in the window, which I reported on one of my other videos. But obviously with Hull's financial trouble at the moment, their transfer ban, they can't actually sign players for a fee or a sign-on fee. It's just they can only sign loans and free agents where they've got to pay no money for it, essentially. Obviously, they can pay the wages, but they can't pay a sign-on fee or a loan fee, for example. So, obviously, with Oli McBurnie, if he was going to go to Hull, he'd probably just double his wages, essentially, as he won't be getting any money from the sign-on fee. He'd just want a bit more money in wages, which makes perfect sense. So, Hull essentially out the question. Obviously, Sheffield United have been linked, but not too sure if he's a Ruben Sellis type of striker. And Swansea, the only team really at the moment, reportedly very interested in him. Now, McBurnie, obviously, when he was at Swansea previously, he did have a few off-the-field issues, but obviously he was still young, and obviously everyone, when they're young, makes mistakes and stuff like that. But obviously he's very settled now. You haven't seen McBurnie do any nonsense for a couple of years, and obviously when he was over in Spain, he was, speaking in Spanish when he was doing his interviews and stuff like that. So it does show, he has got a real sense of good mentality now. How many foreign players do you see go over to the Spanish, the French league, the German league, the Dutch league, and speak their language? It's very, very rare indeed. But yeah, last season for Las Palmas then, took him a while to get into the team, but when he did, he got 3 goals and 6 assists in 34 games. So not a terrible record. 9 GA in 34 games is pretty respectable, to be fair, in the top league of Spain. Last time he was in the Championship, he scored 13 goals, 2 assists in 38 games for Sheffield United. So again, not a terrible record. Obviously, you'd expect a little bit better from McBurnie, but he was in and out of that Sheffield United team just due to the fact they had players like Billy Sharp, McGoldrick. Obviously, Brewster was in the team as well then. So yeah, they had a lot of options, Sheffield United. In his last season with Swansea, then, he did score 22 goals, 4 assists in 42 Championship games, which is just a phenomenal record, and that's our highest scoring season for a striker since McBurnie left. So yeah, we haven't had someone put up that amount of goals probably since Ayew. Obviously, he's still got a little bit more than Ayew. But yeah, there's reports of him being in Swansea the previous weekend, but there's been no actual physical proof of that, so I'm not sure if someone was just making that up, or people are just having a little wind up on Twitter. Yeah, like I said, it was probably close to joining Hull, but obviously with their situation, that is out the equation now. But yeah, McBurnie, if he was to sign, I think it would be a little bit of an expensive free transfer. Obviously, with him coming towards his 30s now, it's probably one of his last big paydays in football, so you want to make the most. So obviously he knows the club, and he also knows Alan Sheehan. Alan Sheehan and McBurnie played 4 times together at Bradford. Obviously Sheehan towards the end of his career there, and obviously McBurnie coming through the ranks at Bradford. They played 4 times together. Obviously not loads of minutes or nothing, but they do know each other. And when Alan Sheehan did get the job permanently in early April, I think it was, McBurnie did reply saying buzzing for you, she's. So obviously he's very good mates with Alan Sheehan, which helps a lot. He knows the club, he knows the manager, he knows a lot of our players. So yeah, what could go wrong, hey? But look, I've had my doubts about this one. Look, I think McBurnie as a player, you know, you want someone who knows the club, knows where the back of the net is, and he does know that. But, you know, at 29, hasn't been prolific for a number of seasons now. And yes, you could use the fact that Sheffield United win the Premier League, so obviously those numbers would be a little bit fabricated, and obviously La Liga as well. But, you know, last in the Championship, only 13 goals, where he scored 22 previously. A little bit of a drop-off there. But look, if McBurnie comes in, I'll back him 100%, but I still feel like we've got issues outside the striker situation. Yes, we do need the striker. Creativity is massive, because you look at the friendlies, you know, we're not creating too many chances. And look, regardless who you got up front, you've got to feed the ball to the striker. And it's not like Vapodnik or Cullen are missing easy chances. They're just not getting many. So that's something we need to sort out. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the 3 players linked in today's video. Obviously, the first 2, a little bit unrealistic, but they are linked, so I will mention them. And they were linked by respected journalists, so, you know, there have got to be some sort of activity going on there. And obviously, McBurnie, the last one. I do think the McBurnie deal will happen eventually. Obviously, I'm not too sure what's going on at the moment. You know, people getting very excited without having good sources. But it was reported that Swans are in talks again this weekend, so we'll see what happens about that. And obviously, if he does sign, we will do a video on it. But yeah, let me know down below if you want to see any of these players sign. Thanks for your continued support, and thank you very much for 6,000 subscribers. The season starts next week, sorry. The League 1, League 2 seasons this week. But yeah, very, very close to the EFL season starting again for Swansea City, and it's flown by, and I can't wait to see the Swans back in action again. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.